The Xyrix warship appeared without warning, tearing the sky over Mars into a storm of burning light. Its shadow spread across the colony like a falling night, swallowing the rust-red plains beneath. The planet's defense grid, half-finished and outdated, fired a desperate volley that barely scratched the ship's obsidian hull. Civilians ran, their shouts lost beneath the bone-shaking rumble of orbital bombardments. On the bridge of the Resolute, Commander Eric Voss stood silent, jaw clenched as a tactical display painted the incoming threat. A battleship 10 times the size of his own cruiser, accompanied by a swarm of Xyrix escorts. "They're moving into bombardment range," Lieutenant Kira Haldane said, her voice steady but tight. Her dark eyes flicked between the flashing sensor data in Eric's face, searching for the impossible order. Eric exhaled through his teeth. "Erebus, give me targeting solutions on the smallest escort frigates. I want them burning before they even see us coming." The ship's AI responded with calm precision, its synthetic voice filling the command deck. "3 potential vectors, Commander. The probability of success is—" "Just give me the clean shot," Eric interrupted. He hated numbers in moments like this. Statistics were the language of people who believed battles could be predicted. The Resolute cut through the chaos, engines screaming as it dove below the Xyrix formation. The enemy frigates, sleek arrowheads of black metal, adjusted course too late. "Fire on my mark," Eric ordered. 3, 2, mark. The rail cannon spat fire, glowing slugs tearing through the first frigate's core. It erupted in a white-hot bloom, its shockwave rattling the Resolute. "Direct hit," Kira shouted. Second frigate adjusting. "Wait, it's splitting formation." Eric grinned faintly. "They're not used to losing ships this fast. Let's show them what a primitive species can do." The next volley crippled the second frigate, but the victory was short-lived. The Xyrix battleship pivoted, its side bristling with plasma cannons. A dozen lances of energy streaked toward the Resolute. "Evasive," Eric barked. The deck trembled violently as 2 shots grazed their shields. Alarm shrieked. "We can't take more hits like that." Kira yelled. Eric's mind raced. Retreat wasn't an option. Not with Mars burning below. "Bring us around. Target their weak points." Xyrix armor is layered, but their thermal vents aren't shielded. "Hit them hard, hit them fast." "Commander," Erebus interrupted. "The odds of penetrating a Xyrix battleship's vent systems with our current armaments." "Erebus, I don't care about odds. Execute." The AI hesitated, as if confused by defiance, but complied. The Resolute shot upward in a spiraling climb, weaving between the enemy escorts like a fighter slipping through giants. Rail cannons and missile salvos lit up the void. One missile slid into a vent gap on the battleship's underside. A muffled detonation rippled through Behemoth's hull, scorching its armor but failing to cripple it. "Not enough," Kira muttered. Eric's eyes hardened. "Then we keep hitting until something breaks, either them or us." On the Xyrix flagship, High Strategist Vakar, THONN, observed the skirmish with cold disinterest. His clawed hand rested on the polished obsidian armrest of his command throne. The holographic display projected the human cruiser darting like an insect, harrying his escorts with reckless ferocity. "Primitive tactics," Vakar said, his voice a low hiss. "A nuisance at best." A younger Xyrix officer shifted nervously. "Strategist, the human vessel has disabled 2 of our frigates. Their aim is unpredictable." "Unpredictable is not dangerous," Vakar replied, though his gaze lingered on the battle longer than before. "Crush them. Show these creatures why the Empire has ruled for millennia." Back on the Resolute, the battle dragged into a brutal dance. The ship's shields flickered under relentless fire. The crew worked with the grim silence of people who knew the next shot could end them. "Commander, we got civilian transports lifting off from Mars," Kira reported. "They'll be slaughtered if that battleship fires again." "Not on my watch," Eric said. He tapped the comms. "All units, focus fire on that battleship's cannons. By those transports' time." The Resolute dived headlong toward the Xyrix giant. Its forward cannons roared, shredding smaller weapon arrays. The enemy responded with blinding plasma fire. A shot ripped across their bow, tearing through hull plating. Sparks cascaded across the bridge. A crewman screamed as his console exploded. Damage report. Eric demanded. Hull breach on decks 3 and 4, Kira replied, her face pale but determined. Fire suppression engaged. We've lost 2 railguns. Keep us moving, Eric growled. If we stop, we're dead. Then a chance. One of the transport captains broadcast a plea. Commander Voss, we're taking fire. Our shields won't hold. Hold your course, Eric said, voice steady. We'll clear the path. He gritted his teeth, eyes locked on the tactical display. Erebus, overcharge the engines. We're going straight through their line. That maneuver risks structural integrity, the AI warned. Do it, Eric snapped. This is war, not a safety drill. The Resolute surged forward, trailing a flare of superheated plasma from its engines. It blasted through the escort line, unleashing everything it had left on the battleship's exposed weapon ports. For one breathless moment, the sky over Mars erupted with fire. The Xyrix battleship reeled, its main cannon silenced by a chain of secondary explosions. The transports escaped into the upper atmosphere. Cheers erupted across the Resolute's bridge, but Eric didn't celebrate. He saw the battleship still alive, still turning. They'll be back, he muttered. This was just the first punch. Kira looked at him, face streaked with sweat and grime. What do we do now? Eric's jaw tightened. We send them a message. We fight. And when the galaxy asks what humanity does when cornered, we'll show them exactly why we're still standing. The War Council chamber on Luna Base was a stark ring of steel and glass, orbiting above the pale gray surface like a sentinel. Below, Earth shone blue and fragile, its beauty at odds with the grim tension in the room. Holographic projections flickered, battle reports, casualty lists, destroyed colonies. Commander Eric Voss stood at the edge of the council table, his black uniform scorched in the fight over Mars. He hadn't slept in 36 hours, and it showed in the lines around his eyes. They've already burned half of the Mars colonies, said Chancellor Dorian Vale, his tone sharp and brittle. If the Xyrix Empire decides to bring its full fleet, we don't stand a chance. We must negotiate, send an envoy before this becomes extinction. Eric's gaze hardened. Negotiate? With tyrants who declared war, without a single demand? With an empire that considers us insects? They don't want peace. They want us gone. Councilor E. Marie, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair, shifted uncomfortably. And if we resist, Commander, we risk provoking them further. Humanity has only 5 combat-ready fleets. They have hundreds. They bled today. Eric cut in. His voice carried a weight that silenced the chamber. Over Mars, a single cruiser tore through their escort line and bought time for our people to escape. We can hurt them. Maybe not by standing toe-to-toe, but by being exactly what they don't understand. Unpredictable. Relentless. Human. The council murmured, voices rising in disagreement. Some wanted to rally. Others demanded surrender. The air thickened with fear. Kira Haldane stepped forward from where she stood near the wall. If we give up now, she said quietly, then the lives lost on Mars mean nothing. My family, they're gone because of the Xyrix. And I'll be damned if we just bow to them. The room stilled. Her words weren't calculated politics. They were raw, personal. Even the most jaded counselors looked away. Eric seized a moment. The Xyrix have ruled the galaxy by fear for centuries. But fear cuts both ways. We don't have their numbers or their technology, but we have something they can't measure. Ingenuity, the will to survive. They believe we're weak because we're young. Let's show them what youth can do when it fights for its life. Chancellor Vale scowled. And what exactly do you propose, Commander? A suicide mission? Not suicide. Strategy, Eric replied. He tapped the console embedded in the table. A new hologram flickered to life, an alien data cache, its symbols glowing faintly. This, Eric said, is something we pulled from a downed Xyrix scout near the belt 2 months ago. We couldn't decrypt it until yesterday. It contains tactical schematics of their fleet formations and, more importantly, energy grid layouts for their forward supply depots. Hit those depots, and their war machine slows to a crawl. The council leaned forward, drawn in despite themselves. How do we know it's not a trap? Counselor re-asked. Because they didn't expect us to crack it, Eric said. We have an edge they don't. Our AI, Erebus, reverse-engineered their encryption. I'm not asking for all fleets, just one strike force, fast and surgical. We harry them, sabotage their supplies, make every step toward Earth cost them blood. A heavy silence followed. Eric let it hang, eyes sweeping the room. Or, he added, we can sit here debating until their battleships reach orbit and turn Earth into another burning rock. Your choice. Later, in the dim corridor outside the chamber, Kira fell into step beside Eric. You really think they'll go for it? They don't have a choice, Eric said. Surrender isn't survival, it's slavery. You didn't mention the part where we'd be outnumbered 50-1. Eric smirked faintly. Details ruin good speeches. Kira snorted, shaking her head. You know, you're either a genius or completely insane. Maybe both, Eric replied. His tone softened. Kira, I need you ready. We're going to push these people into a fight they don't want, and when we do, it'll fall on us to make sure they believe they can win. Her jaw tightened. Count on me, Commander. In the shadowed briefing room of the Resolute, the strike plan took shape. Hollow maps lit the table, showing Zyre's patrol routes and the location of a key forward supply depot on the fringe of Imperial territory. Erebus spoke, its voice smooth but edged with concern. Probability of success for a direct strike remains low. However, a multi-pronged guerrilla approach increases survival odds by 27%. Translate that for me, Eric said. Kira smirked. It means we have a small chance of not dying horribly. Good enough, Eric replied. Lieutenant Llanos, the ship's chief engineer, scratched his beard. If we're hitting a depot, we'll need something with teeth. Our railguns won't punch through Zyrex plating fast enough. Work with Erebus, Eric ordered. Get me something, anything, that can turn their armor into slag. I don't care if you have to rip apart half the ship to do it. News of the strike plan spread quickly across the fleet. On the mess deck, crew members spoke in hushed tones. Fear mingled with pride. Commander Voss is crazy, one pilot muttered. But if anyone can pull this off, it's him. The following day, Eric stood once again before the High Council, this time with approval secured. The vote had been razor-thin. He felt the weight of it pressing on his shoulders. You'll lead the Resolute in 2 escort destroyers, Chancellor Vale said. Do not mistake this for an endorsement of recklessness. You fail and we'll sue for peace. Peace? Eric almost laughed. The Zyrex don't know the meaning of the word. Vale's expression hardened. Then make them learn it. As the Resolute prepared for departure, Eric stood on the observation deck, staring at the Earth below. The planet's blue oceans glimmered under sunlight, so beautiful and so vulnerable. Kira joined him quietly. I've never seen it from here, she said, her voice almost a whisper. Every time I look at it, Eric replied, I remind myself why I fight, not for councils or politics. For them, the people who can't fight for themselves. Kira nodded. Then let's make this strike count. The Resolute and its escorts burned into the void, their engines leaving bright trails like comets. In the silence of space, Eric felt the enormity of what lay ahead, a war unlike any humanity had ever faced. He turned to his crew, gathered on the bridge. The Zyrex think they know us. They don't. We'll hit them where they least expect, and we won't stop until they understand one thing. Kira tilted her head. What's that? Eric's eyes were steel. That humanity doesn't bow. Not now. Not ever. The black of deep space hid them. No beacons, no lights. Just a Resolute and her 2 escorts, gliding silently through the scattered rocks of an asteroid field in the Darren Belt. Commander Eric Voss studied the rotating holomap above the tactical console. 3 Zyrex patrol routes glowed red, each threading between the asteroids like a net. Their supply lines ran just beyond the belt's far edge, heavily guarded. To strike, They're meant slipping through a trap of predators, waiting for the smallest mistake. Patrols sweep every 16 minutes, Kira Haldane reported. We have a window of 4 minutes between their scans. Any misstep and we're flagged. Eric leaned forward, eyes sharp. 4 minutes is all I need. He looked at Erebus, the ship's AI. Status of our decoy drones? Fully operational, the AI replied, its voice calm and precise. Modified to mimic our engine signatures. Probability of misdirection success, 71%. 71. Eric said with a faint smirk. I've worked with worse odds. Launched them on my mark. The first engagement was surgical. The drone scattered into the asteroid field, pulsing false signals that mimicked Terran cruisers at full thrust. Within minutes, the Zyrex patrols shifted course, chasing the decoys. Patrols diverted, Kira confirmed. We have a clear path through Grid 6. Good, Eric said. All engines at minimum. Slip past them like smoke. The Resolute threaded to the maze of spinning rocks. Every maneuver calculated with brutal precision. For 20 minutes, silence ruled the bridge. No one dared breathe too loudly. Then the sensors lit up. Contact, Kira whispered. Zyrex scout corvette, bearing 249. It's scanning the perimeter. They're fast, Eric muttered. They'll call backup if they catch a sniff of us. Targeting solution. Locked, Erebus replied. Fire only when its sensors sweep away from us, Eric ordered. The moment stretched like wire. The Corvette scanners blinked past, and Eric gave the order. The Resolute's rail cannon spat 3 tungsten slugs. The Zyrex ship erupted silently, debris vanishing into the void. No signal broadcasted, Kira reported. They didn't get the call out. Good. Keep moving, Eric said. One clean shot at their depot and we disappear. Hours later, the depot came into view. It hung in orbit around a dead moon, a fortress of black metal bristling with turrets. Dozens of Zyrex freighters drifted nearby, unloading supplies. Fuel, plasma cores, munitions. Looks like a hornet's nest, Lieutenant Janos muttered. We hit that thing head-on, we're shredded. Eric nodded. We're not going head-on. The plan was madness. It required split-second timing and the kind of reckless precision only humans seemed capable of. The Resolute would lure the Zyrex guards into the asteroid field, while the escort destroyers flanked and bombarded the depot from blind angles. Erebus coordinate attack vectors with both escorts. We strike fast and vanish faster, Eric ordered. Affirmative, the AI replied. The first salvo lit the dark. Missiles screamed from the destroyers, ripping into the depot's outer defenses. Sirens flashed red across the Zyrex perimeter. They're scrambling interceptors, Kira called out. Hold course, Eric said. Let them chase us. The Resolute dug toward the asteroid field, engines flaring as Zyrex fighters swarmed behind. Eric's hands moved over the controls with the speed of instinct, weaving the ship between tumbling rocks. Plasma bolts streaked past, exploding into showers of molten fragments. Shields down to 60%. Janos shouted, Divert power from non-critical systems. Eric barked, Keep us alive. The trap sprung perfectly. As the Zyrex pursuit deepened into the field, the Resolute banked hard and looped around the far side of a massive asteroid. Its escorts, hidden in the shadowed debris, struck the depot with a second devastating wave. Explosions rippled across the station's fuel silos, tearing holes through its structure. Depot's burning, Kira reported, awe in her voice. We actually don't celebrate yet. Eric, cut in. Bring us around. Let's finish this. The return run was brutal. The Zyrex fighters realized too late what had happened and broke off pursuit. But their capital frigates were already powering up defensive grids. Target their fuel tanks, Eric ordered. If we hit them, the entire depot goes with it. The Resolute's remaining railguns roared, each slug punching into the depot's exposed core. For a breathless second, the void seemed to hold its breath. Then the depot erupted. A fireball brighter than a star consumed the entire structure, scattering fragments across the moon's orbit. The bridge shook from the shockwave. Kira gripped her console, knuckles white. We're clear. No pursuit yet. Eric's shoulders eased slightly. Get us out before they regroup. Hours later, deep in the safety of an asteroid cave, the fleet powered down to silent running. The crew gathered in the mess hall, exhausted but buzzing with adrenaline. We did it, Yano said, disbelief in his voice. We actually took down a Xyrix depot. Kira raised an eyebrow. Don't get too comfortable. They'll hit back hard when they realize what we've done. They will, Eric agreed, stepping into the room. The chatter fell silent at his presence. But tonight we proved something. We showed them they're not untouchable. Every depot we burn, every patrol we cripple, it makes them bleed, and the galaxy will see it. A young crewman spoke up, hesitant but inspired. Commander, do you think other species will join us? Eric paused, considering. Some are watching. The Xyrix have ruled them through fear. If we show we can fight back and win, maybe they'll rise too. In the Xyrix capital, High Strategist Vakar, THRYNN, stared at the report streaming across his command display. A human cruiser and 2 destroyers had obliterated a supply hub that should have been impregnable. This is unacceptable, hissed one of his lieutenants. Vakar's expression remained cold, but his thoughts churned. Primitive or not, they're learning too quickly. This will not happen again. Prepare the main fleet. If humans want war, we'll give them the full weight of the Empire. Back aboard the Resolute, Eric watched the stars beyond the viewport. His reflection in the glass looked older, harder. They'll send more, Kira said quietly, joining him. Good, Eric replied. Let them come. We're just getting started. The infiltration began under the shadow of a dying star. The Xyrix Forward Command Station hung in orbit around a burned-out world, its jagged spires reaching into the void like black knives. It was heavily fortified, dozens of turrets, patrol ships, and drone swarms. The Resolute waited in the dark behind a fractured asteroid, silent and cold, with every non-essential system shut down. Commander Eric Voss stood at the observation window, studying the station through narrow eyes. That place is a fortress, Lieutenant Janos muttered, leaning over the tactical readout. Charging in would be suicide. That's why we're not charging in, Eric replied. We're going to slip in under their noses, cut out their heart, and vanish before they realize we were ever here. Kira Haldane joined them, wearing the matte black combat suit of the strike team. We're ready, she said. Docking bay schematics matched the ones Erebus pulled from the depot's archives. If their layouts haven't changed, we can get in. Eric's gaze shifted to her. You'll be leading the infiltration team. Kira frowned. You're not coming? I'll keep the Resolute alive while you're inside, he said. We can't risk losing the entire command crew. Besides, you're better at close quarters work than I am. Kira smirked faintly. Flattery won't get you out of this. Commander, it's not flattery, Eric said. It's trust. Bring them hell, Lieutenant. The strike team launched in a stealth shuttle, its hull coated in a sensor-dampening alloy. They drifted like a shadow toward the Xyrix station, using debris and radiation bursts to mask their approach. Inside the shuttle, the silence was heavy. Kira checked her rifle for the 3rd time, hands steady despite the pounding in her chest. 30 seconds to docking clamp, the pilot whispered. Kira looked at her team, 4 hardened Marines, each one silent and focused. Remember the plan. We plant the charges, hit their power core, and get out. No heroics, no delays. Back on the Resolute, Eric monitored their progress. Erebus status? The shuttle is within the station's perimeter, the AI replied. No detection yet. Yet, Eric muttered. He turned to Janos. Warm the engines. If this goes bad, we're pulling them out whatever it takes. Kira's team breached the docking bay with surgical precision. The bay was empty save for 2 Xyrix drones patrolling on automated loops. Take them down, Kira ordered. The Marines moved like ghosts, their rifles whispering suppress fire. Sparks flared as the drones collapsed. Clear, one Marine said. Move, Kira replied. They advanced through narrow corridors, the station's walls pulsing with a faint bioluminescent glow. Xyrix architecture was alien and unnerving. Organic curves fused with metallic plating, as if the station itself were alive. Charge one set, said Corporal Vance, kneeling beside a power conduit. Good, Kira said. Next junction. Minutes ticked by like hours. Eric watched the feed from their suit cameras, jaw tight. They're running out of time, he muttered. They're professionals, Yano said. They'll make it. Eric said nothing. He'd seen too many missions go wrong with less at stake. Then it happened. The alarm. A sharp shriek echoed through Kira's earpiece, the station's lighting shifting to a violent crimson. We've been made, she hissed. Team, pick up the pace. Commander, Erebus said from the Resolute, Xyrix patrol craft are launching. Estimated time to intercept, 8 minutes. Eric slammed his fist on the console. Tell her to move faster. We're running out of time. The strike team broke into a cavernous chamber where the main power core pulsed like a beating heart. Thick conduits extended from its sides, feeding the entire station. There, Kira said, pointing. Plant the charges. The Marines worked fast, attaching magnetic detonators to conduits. Suddenly, a Xyrix warrior burst through the side door, claws gleaming under the red lights. 2 more followed, screeching in their guttural metallic language. Contact! Kira shouted, dropping to one knee and firing. Plasma rounds tore through the first warrior's chest, but the second lunged. Corporal Vance intercepted it, tackling it to the ground. The creature slashed him across the chest before Kira's rifle burned it down. Vance! Kira yelled, kneeling beside him. His breathing was ragged, blood darkening his suit. Go, Vance coughed. Below the core. I'll hold them. Kira shook her head. No, we all leave together. Vance grabbed her wrist. We don't have time for arguments. Go. Another wave of Xyrix warriors poured in, their shrieks filling the chamber. Kira made her choice. Set the detonators to 2 minutes. We're leaving. On the Resolute, Eric's voice cut through the comms. Kira, status. Charges planted. Kira replied, breathless. We're heading to extraction, -1. Eric didn't need to ask who. He heard it in her voice. Understood, he said quietly. We'll be ready. The sprint back to the shuttle was chaos. Kira's team fought through waves of drones and warrior patrols, rifles blazing in controlled bursts. One Marine went down, his armor split open by Xyrix claws, but Kira didn't stop. She dragged him into the shuttle, slamming the hatch shut. Go, go, go. The shuttle blasted away from the station just as the charges detonated. Behind them, the Xyrix power core collapsed in a sunburst of light, ripping the station apart. The Resolute caught the shuttle in its hangar and jumped to full burn. Moments later, the station exploded in a cascade of fire and debris, lighting up the void. The crew erupted in cheers, but Eric remained grim. How many did we lose? He asked Kira when she stepped onto the bridge, her armor scorched and bloodied. Vance, she said quietly. He bought us time. Eric's jaw tightened. Then we make sure it wasn't in vain. Far away, in the Xyrix command spire, Vakar, HFY, and stared at the reports with icy rage. Another station destroyed. Another failure. They fight like cornered animals, one of his lieutenants said. No, Vakar replied coldly. They fight like something far worse, something that refuses to die, and that makes them dangerous. That night, as the Resolute drifted in the safety of the dark nebula, Eric sat alone in the observation deck. He thought of Mars burning, of Vance's sacrifice, of the growing fire in humanity's heart. They wanted a war, he murmured. Now they'll get one. The Xyrix armada arrived at Earth like a storm of black steel. Hundreds of ships blotted out the stars, their hulls glowing with the cold fire of charging weapons. Earth's defense grid came online, but the sight of the enemy was enough to freeze every watching heart. On the Resolute, Commander Eric Voss stood at the center of the bridge, his expression carved from iron. The war had come home. There was no retreat, no fallback. Behind him, the crew moved with practiced precision, the exhaustion of weeks of raids and running battles buried under raw determination. Enemy fleet formation complete, Erebus reported. Primary flagship identified, Xyrix High Strategist Vakar Ticharnen's command vessel. So, the snake finally shows himself, Eric muttered. He turned to Kira, who stood at his side, armor scuffed and rifle holstered. This is it. Every trick, every strike. It's all been leading here. Kira's jaw tightened. We'll hold, Commander. We always do. The Terran fleet gathered in Earth's orbit. Battered cruisers, patch destroyers, and a handful of AI-controlled drone frigates. They were hopelessly outnumbered, but their lines held firm. Eric opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Commander Voss of the Resolute," he began, his voice steady and unflinching. "The Zyrex believe we're weak, that we'll kneel when they bring their fire. Today, we prove them wrong. We fight for every life on Earth, every soul that trusts us to keep the sky from falling. We don't run. We don't break. We make them pay for every inch." A wave of acknowledgments followed. Pilots tightened grips on their controls. Gunners checked their stations. Across the fleet, hearts hardened. The first clash came like thunder. Zyrex cruisers unleashed plasma storms, lighting space with blinding arcs. Earth's orbital cannons returned fire, burning trails through the black. Shields at 85%. Kira called out as the Resolute rolled to evade a barrage. "Return fire," Eric ordered. "Target their lead frigates. Break their spearhead." The Resolute's railguns hammered the closest Zyrex ships, punching through armor in white-hot streaks. The first frigate broke apart in silence, scattering flaming shards into the void. "Nice shot," Kira muttered. "Plenty more where that came from," Eric replied, his hands moving over the tactical interface with ruthless precision. But the Zyrex weren't unprepared. Their flagship advanced, flanked by dreadnoughts, its weapons glowing with unnatural power. "Enemy flagship charging main cannon," Erebus warned. Eric's eyes narrowed. "If that thing fires on Earth's shield grid, we're done." "What's the plan?" Kira asked. Eric stared at the tactical map. The Zyrex flagship was too heavily armored for a direct assault. But maybe we hit them like we did at the depot. Hard and unexpected. Break their formation. Give them chaos they can't predict. He ordered the drone frigates forward. AI-controlled, they moved in perfect coordination, weaving through enemy fire and detonating near weak points. Explosions tore gaps in the Zyrex lines, forcing their fleet to scatter. "Open a lane," Eric growled. "Give me a shot at their flagship." Kira grinned. "You're really going for him?" "I'm going to remind Vakar why humanity is dangerous," Eric said. The Resolute dove through the chaos, skimming the edges of enemy fire. Plasma blasts lit the hull, shaking the ship violently. Shields at 40%. Janos shouted from engineering. "Keep them together." Eric barked. The bridge quaked as another blast grazed the starboard side. Sparks flew. Smoke curled from a console. Finally, they broke through. The Zyrex flagship loomed ahead, a towering wall of obsidian metal etched with alien sigils. "Bring up a direct comms channel," Eric said. A moment later, Vakar's face appeared on the hollow display. A pale, angular visage with eyes like burning coals. "Human," Vakar hissed, his voice deep and contemptuous. "You've been a thorn in my side for too long. Surrender now, and I will grant your species a swift end." Eric leaned forward, his voice cold. "You've spent centuries crushing weaker species, thinking that makes you powerful. You made a mistake when you thought we'd kneel." Vakar's eyes narrowed. "Then you will die screaming." "Maybe," Eric said, "but we'll make sure you go first." The Resolute unleashed everything it had, missiles, rail slugs, ion bursts, aimed directly at the flagship's thermal vents. The Zyrex vessel returned fire, shaking the Resolute to its core. Shields failing. Kira shouted, "We can't take much more of this." "Divert all power to forward weapons," Eric ordered. "That'll drop our shields completely." Janos protested. "Then we don't get hit," Eric snapped. The duel became a dance of death. The Resolute weaved around the massive flagship, targeting weak points with brutal precision. One by one, Zyrex weapon arrays flickered and died. "Vent 2 compromised," Erebus reported, their main cannon's charging cycle interrupted. Eric's lips curled into a grim smile. "Good. Hit the next one." But the flagship wasn't finished. A massive shockwave erupted from its hull, tossing the Resolute like a toy. Consoles burst in a rain of sparks. Engine output dropping. Janos yelled, Kira's voice cut through the chaos. Commander, we're not going to survive another blast like that. Eric stared at the flagship on the display. A plan formed, a desperate, insane plan. Then we end this now. Erebus, prepare the kinetic warhead. Warning, the AI said. Detonation range will severely damage this vessel. Just do it, Eric said. Target their core. We take them down, whatever it costs. The Resolute charged straight at the Zyrex flagship, engine screaming. Are you out of your mind? Kira shouted. Probably, Eric said, a fierce grin cutting across his face. But this ends here. The warhead launched at point-blank range, slamming into the flagship's vent system. A chain of detonations tore through the Zyrex ship, fire blooming across its hull like a dying star. Pull us clear, Eric yelled. The Resolute barely escaped the shockwave as the Zyrex flagship erupted into a blinding explosion, fragments spinning into the void. Cheers erupted on the bridge. Kira let out a shaky laugh. You actually did it. Eric exhaled slowly, the weight of the moment sinking in. No, we did it. The destruction of Vakar's flagship sent shockwaves through the Zyrex fleet. Leaderless, their formation collapsed. Terran ships and AI drones tore through them, forcing the survivors into retreat. Across the comms, voices shouted in disbelief and triumph. Earth was safe. For now. Hours later, as the fleet gathered in silent orbit, Eric stood on the observation deck. Earth spun below, blue and alive. They wanted to break us, Kira said, joining him. Instead, we just showed them who we are. Eric nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars. And now the galaxy knows we don't bow. Not to anyone.